The Great Pig, the demon controlling the castle, sealed away in a land of shadows for 100 years. But how? Where did this demon come from? How did he appear? Is there any relation to the man we once knew as Ganondorf? Well, that's what I want to find out. Now, in Breath of the Wild, we see the once great Hyrule Castle, or at least the once great second Hyrule Castle, taken over, glowing pink, while the crazed shadow of a demon attempts to break free. Now, from what we see and are told by the old man, this beast is Calamity Ganon, and he's been trapped in this castle for 100 years. But there's no true evidence or explanation as to how specifically he was sealed away. I reckon there'll be some explanation in the final game, there always is. So let's start by explaining to the world where Ganon always comes from, by looking at Ganon throughout the games. Starting at the beginning of the timeline, we see Ganon's original incarnation, through the form of the Demon King Demise, who, as dying, casts a curse, causing those with the spirit of the hero, the blood of the goddess, and the hatred of the demon to be stuck in a constant state of reincarnation. As he says,
"This is not the end. My hate never perishes. It is born anew in a cycle with no end."
So that's where Ganon and Ganondorf fits into this. They are the second reincarnation of Demise's hatred, existing after Vardy, who only lived during the Void period, encapsulating Minish Cap and Four Swords. After these two games, in the Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, we see the great villain himself, Ganondorf. Throughout the game, Ganondorf follows the wishes of his pre-incarnation and conquers Hyrule, though at the end of the game Ganondorf is defeated and crushed beneath a destroyed castle. After this, Ganondorf begs his Triforce of Power for more power, and this wish is granted, though in the process he's transformed into the body of a pig monster, Ganon. After this, Link apparently slays Ganon, though it is later revealed that he still lived, and is then sealed in the Sacred Realm, where he eventually breaks free in his beast form again. He attacks Hyrule again, where he's sealed again, the land is flooded, and eventually he gets ended by Link for real, thus summarizing the plot of the Wind Waker. But that is the end of Ganon himself in the adult timeline. Short of Puppet Ganon, there's no actual mention of Ganon himself in this game or the timeline. So I guess now we'll look at the child timeline. In this game, we see what happens in Hyrule after the events of Ocarina of Time, where Link is sent back to the past. Ganondorf's army is destroyed by the King of Hyrule and his armies, and Ganondorf is captured, and slated to be executed. However, during his execution, the goddesses grant him the power of the Triforce of Power, and due to this, Ganondorf breaks free and even kills the Sage of Water. The sages then activate the Mirror of Twilight, which they use to seal Ganondorf in the Twilight Realm. This sets the events of Twilight Princess into motion. At the end of the game, Ganondorf possesses the body of Princess Zelda. After purging this possession, Link and Midna share a cool pose, but then they're shocked by Ganondorf's appearance again in front of them, cloaked in darkness and shadow. Ganondorf, obviously still in extreme pain, is screaming, unable to control himself. Without its host's complete control over it, the Triforce of Power goes rampant, exploding with power, and accentuating the darkness in the dwarf's heart. Thus, Ganon, the so-called Dark Beast, appears. Link eventually defeats it, and then kills Ganondorf in an epic sword battle. However, later in the timeline, a different Ganon is born, and apparently a different entity also gains the darkness from the Twilight Princess Ganondorf. In Four Swords Adventures, we see Ganon in his pig form as the final boss and a major antagonist. And from information in Hyrule Historia, the resentment and evil thoughts of the defeated Ganondorf travel across time and space, emerging as shadows in the shape of the heroes. That's right, Shadow Link, fought multiple times throughout the game, actually contains the evil of Ganondorf from Twilight Princess. I really need to make a video on that. Anyway, back to Ganon himself. In Four Swords Adventures, Ganon had recently been expelled from the Gerudo, who apparently had mysteriously been brought back since their extinction in Twilight Princess. Either way, at the end of the game, we see Ganon sealed in the Four Sword, And that's that for that timeline. The downfall timeline is the real big Ganon form timeline, which is probably due to half these games appearing before the dwarf was even a thing. In the Link to the Past, Ganondorf is at least mentioned, though not by name, but the only one we actually see is Ganon, who had been trapped in the Sacred Realm, remade as the Dark Realm thanks to Ganon's use of the Triforce. Link fights Ganon at the end of the game and kills him, ending this Ganon's life. But not for long. We don't see Ganon at all in Oracle of Ages or Oracle of Seasons. But ¿por qué no los dos? That's correct. If both games are completed, and the code from one is put into the other, then the true ending appears. Kotake and Kume, the twin rover, managed to resurrect Ganon using the 3 flames in the Dark Rites. The Flame of Destruction, caused by Onox in Halundrum, the Flame of Sorrow, caused by Viren in Labrynna, and the Flame of Despair, caused by the kidnapping of Zelda in Hyrule. However, as the twin rover were killed by Link before they could sacrifice Zelda, Ganon was reborn as a mindless beast, and the Link from these games manages to put him out of his misery. But he returns once again in A Link Between Worlds, being summoned by and possessing the witch Yuga. Ganondorf is once again destroyed. Now, we have the original games. Though we don't know where this Ganon comes from, Link defeats him using the silver arrows and then stops his resurrection and awakens Zelda. Wait, stops his resurrection? Is it the Dark Rites again? No. This time Ganon's minions want to resurrect him, using naught but Link's blood, which they want to sprinkle on Ganon's ashes once Link dies. So, we see Ganon being revived in multiple ways, breaking free of any seals placed on him, and then, if all else fails, dying and reincarnating. A tough foe you got there, Link. If only you could just go back in time and stop the curse. But that doesn't seem likely, so for now, let's just try and see what we can figure out about Calamity Ganon. So, we've seen Ganon revive in more ways than one. And by more ways than one, I mean two. 2 ways. The Dark Rites and the blood of the hero and the ashes of the king. But what if this was done in both ways at once? We don't really have a lot of information about Calamity Ganon, but from what we do have, we see an ultra powerful monster thrashing around the castle, almost thrashing around mindlessly, I might say. So, what if he was revived twice at the same time? We have no idea where this fits into the timeline, or even which timeline it fits into. But if, perhaps, this were to take place after one of the Ganons is destroyed, then it could work. Think about it. The twin rover travel the land, causing the destruction, sorrow, and despair. While we can't see much of that sorrow or despair yet, that could be easily added back in along with, people. The destruction element is quite obvious. I don't feel the need to talk about that. While the twin rover work on that, the minions of Ganon all work together in their attempts to crush the hero, and eventually, he runs out of fairies, and kablooey, pop goes the hero. With the hero's corpse in hand, the monsters return to the final resting place of their lord. At the same time, the twin rover had finally finished fanning the 3 flames. The twin rovers start to conduct their ritual. However, before they could finish, the monsters arrived. Mistaking the sisters as enemies, beasts attempting to destroy their master's ashes, they kill them, while other monsters pour blood onto the ashes of Ganon. With both the blood of the hero who had killed him, and the magical power of the Dark Rites, Ganon awakens once more, with power beyond even what the Triforce of Power could give him. Zelda then seals him in the castle, along with herself in a theory by Dr. Wily, and the 2 of them have remained in that castle for 100 years. That's where the hero of Breath of the Wild comes into play. The only one who could defeat the Dark Beast Ganon is the one who not only has killed him before, but also the one whose blood resides inside the beast, giving him power. Perhaps Link will need to find a way to get his blood back out of Ganon, weakening him to the point where he may land the final blow. And that is the real reason that Link in the Breath of the Wild has been resurrected. Because even in death, none can fulfill the duties that this hero can. and without him, Hyrule is once again doomed. Anyway, that's all I have got this time, so don't forget to give this video a like, a comment, which I love reading and answering and seeing what you all have to say, a Facebook share, which tells all your friends about me, which I love, and of course, don't forget to subscribe to me for some more video game music themed videos from The Gamer Musician.